My clock is off by like 1 minute. 45 seconds.
Me and you drove off, and you drop off over the truck. Do it.
Still 5:59 on my watch. Still 5:59. Now.
I don't think that's.
Bring it down. Oh, Brandon, either? Oh, that works. No, oh, we have four. Okay. And Mackenzie. Oh, I thought she. She said she would be. I'll send her. I gotta use your.
That old.
Okay. Perfect. I got it. No, Brandon's not coming. Mackenzie's on Zoom. Connie's not here.
Did Connie make Zoom or no? Did Connie make Zoom?
Mackenzie is, but he's here. No, he's not. Mackenzie's on Zoom.
Did we even have enough to vote?
Yeah. And Mackenzie's on Zoom.
There's four of us. Four. All right, we're gonna, hey, Eric, if there's anybody else out there, we'll pull some more chairs up. All right, it's 6 o'clock. We'll call 6:02. We'll call the council meeting to order. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
All right. Ben
Here.
Anderson.
Here.
We've got a couple council members on via Zoom.
Here.
Uh-oh.
Here. Can you guys hear me?
Did we get Mackenzie? Oh, okay. Who's next?
Okay, Ursano,
Here.
Bernie,
Here.
Ferguson,
Here.
Bender. And Green.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion to excuse council members that are not with us this evening.
Move to approve council members Green and Bender.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Can you Get Mackenzie and I.
I'm gonna check it right now.
Okay. All opposed? Okay, thank you. All right, do we have any additions, deletions, or corrections to the agenda this evening?
Move to approve the amended agenda as given to us tonight. That
Second.
was not before.
Second,
Second.
okay. All in favor
Aye.
and all opposed? Mackenzie is a little tight tonight. Okay, starting off this evening, we have a bunch of folks here. We're gonna swear in 3 new police officers. You got Mackenzie, okay. All right, we'll start with Officer Howells. Oh,
Do it all.
Oh.
yeah, we can do all 3 at once. Do they?
It's the way I was.
You never heard?
You might get feedback. Oh.
Together. Don't say my name.
Oh, okay.
Then practice the Invita.
You guys got everything you need?
Got everything.
In front of you? Okay. Okay.
Thank you.
Practice this more too. Okay, I'll start with I and then it'll be state your name. I guess we'll go one at a time. I state your name, do solemnly swear
I, Colby Sokol, do solemnly swear
I, Jared Howells, do solemnly swear
I, Corey Tennell, do solemnly swear
that I am a citizen of the United States and of the state of Washington,
that I am a citizen of the United States and the state of Washington,
that I am a citizen of the United States and the state of Washington,
that I am a citizen of the United States and the state of Washington,
that I will support the Constitution and laws of the United States
that I will support the Constitution and the laws of the United States,
that I will support the Constitution and the laws of the United States,
that I will support the Constitution and the laws of the United States,
the Constitution and laws of the state of Washington,
the Constitution and laws of the state of Washington,
the Constitution and laws of the state of Washington,
the Constitution and laws of the state of Washington,
and the laws and ordinances of the city of Buckley, Washington,
and the laws and ordinance of the city of Buckley, Washington,
and the laws and ordinances of the city of Buckley, Washington,
and the laws and ordinances of the city of Buckley, Washington,
and that I will abide by the mission, vision, and values of the Buckley Police Department,
and that I will abide by the mission, vision, and values of Buckley Police Department,
and that I will abide by the mission, vision, and values of the Buckley Police Department,
and that I will abide by the mission, vision, and values of the Buckley Police Department.
First paragraph's done. Very good. Okay. I will, to the best of my judgment, skill, and ability,
I will, to the best of my judgment, skill, and ability,
I will to the best of my judgment, skill, and ability,
I will, to the best of my judgment, skill, and ability,
truly, faithfully, diligently,
truly, faithful, diligently,
truly, faithfully, and diligently,
truly, faithfully, and diligently,
and impartially perform the duties of the position of police officer. And
impartially perform the duties of the position of a police officer
and impartially perform the duties of the position of police officer
and impartially perform the duties of the position of police officer
in and for the city of Buckley, Pierce County, Washington.
in and for the city of Buckley, Pierce County, Washington,
in and for the city of Buckley, Pierce County, Washington,
in and for the city of Buckley, Pierce County, Washington,
As such duties are prescribed by law, so help me God.
as such duties are prescribed by law, so help me God.
as such duties are prescribed by law, so help me God.
as such duties are prescribed by law, so help me God. Thanks, sir.
Yeah, we will. So they want to do a quick photo too. I'd just like to say a couple things about each of these guys real quick, because some of you might not remember who everybody was we've hired in the last little bit. So Jared Howells is our newest lateral hire. He's in the middle there next to the mayor. He is currently an FTO, should be on solo patrol in a couple weeks. Colby Sokol is our newest hire. Colby starts the police academy on November 5th. So we're excited for that. He's looking forward to it. And then Reserve Officer Tennell is a lateral police officer. He was a reserve officer for the city of Algona. He's been a police officer as a reserve for 9 years now. So Reserve Officer Tennell volunteers his time for us, but his requirements are the same as a full-time police officer. So these guys are awesome guys. These are the guys that they're all local boys. And so it's kind of like the OKGs are our kind of guys that we hire, that we'd like to hire. And so we're excited for all three of them to see how they do with us. So thanks.
Chief, you also want to invite the families with the individuals on our inbox. Okay, we already did out there, okay.
And then family members too, if you want to come up and take pictures with individually or as a group,
Well,
or you want to,
yeah, we're gonna do that at the PD.
Oh, okay. All right.
So everybody, all the family, everybody, you guys can all head over to the PD and we'll do cake and pictures over there for the families.
I got it though. If you're busy. If you're busy.
Good, how are you?
I'll head over there.
How you been? Good.
How's your daughter, honey? Is she driving? My, mine is 16, just finished her written stuff, and we gotta go do the driving. We're going to the major parking lot on Saturday to practice with the call. Thank you.
Just you saying
You got it, yeah. it's July.
She drives, she drops off Jameson.
Oh, she got in trouble. I didn't take off that. She's driving her little house down, all of a sudden she said it's like 3 days before she gets her actual license. She's driving up down her driveway to gravel, and I'm like, don't go past it. She drives all the way down to Clink, turns around and someone pulled her over. I'm like, you're such an idiot. Oh, no. See ya.
So I was like, no. You're always scary. Nothing
Same thing when I was a kid.
I'm like, dude, it's way different than we grew up.
Oh, I got something over by where now the amphitheater is, and it was took me a street trooper who knew my dad. He's like, here's the thing, taking all this shit, get your ass home. 15 minutes to get there, I'm calling your dad.
Yeah.
Cause there was.
Bye.
I'm like, can I just go check? He's like.
okay, also tonight I have an appointment recommendation for the Citizen Advisory Commission of Natasha Hackett. So I'll entertain a motion to add Natasha to the Citizens of Advisory Commission.
Motion to add Natasha to
Hackett.
the,
Yep.
I'm sorry, last name,
Hackett.
Atkin to the Citizens Advisory Commission.
Second.
All in favor?
Bye.
Aye.
All opposed? We'll get this little spore in here. Okay. All right. Public comment. We have 3-minute time limit. Well, you got Mackenzie. Okay. So we've got, it's open for public comment. We'll have another period at the end of the meeting for public comment. And Marv, I see you there. Come on up. And did you check and see if there's anybody?
Good, okay. Marv Sunstrom, 881 Sheets Road, Buckley, Council, Mayor. I just wanted to remind all the council members that the city held a comprehensive plan workshop. And during that workshop, the council all heard that the citizens overwhelmingly voted that they wanted lower taxes. And so this doesn't help. The other comment is we talk about affordable housing. Higher taxes is the opposite of affordable housing.
Okay.
Say your name and.
Oh,
Yeah, Marv Sunstrom Jr.
Buckley. Yep.
Thank you.
Yep, thanks. Okay. I'm gonna have a tough time reading this, but it looks like is it Corey or Carol wants to speak? And you can wait till the end if you want to speak at the end of the meeting or speak now. Looks like, no, it's Carolyn. Sorry. Now I read the last name.
Public hearing on the, on 1A.
Okay, all right. Mel,
I defer to you.
to the end, okay. Donna, same, okay. No. Caleb. Okay, perfect. And just state your name and which city you live in.
I'm
Or county.
Caleb Chalcraft. I live in the city of Buckley. I work for the city of Buckley.
Yep.
Good evening, council. Thank you for your service and the countless hours devoted to serving our community. On behalf of all employees, the members of IUOE Local 302 are here asking the council to please look further into the proposed amendment for current city council regarding the city benefits opt-out program. If this amendment passes, it will significantly reduce the monthly income for employees taking advantage of the opt-out benefit and the current rates. For example, city employees like Bradley Meyer, Sandy Burkett, Debbie Van Weergen, Zach Lacey, Charity Roner, and Jessica Clark get paid $932.88 per month for taking advantage of the opt-out program at today's current rates. The proposed city council action would drop their monthly benefit to $400, which is $532.88 per month decreased in their monthly income. These employees should not receive any less than the $700 opt-out option. We believe the city should consider offering the flat amount of $700 for any employee opting out, which will increase the overall employee participation, thus helping the city gain an even greater cost savings. As the opt-out program sits at its current rates, the city sees monthly savings in the neighborhood of $10,000 or approximately $100,000 per year. You may be asking yourself why some of these employees don't just opt themselves out in order to receive the maximum benefit, lessening the monthly impact to their wages. We had the same question, and after speaking to all impacted members, we learned that many of them simply do not have the option to be covered by other insurance for a variety of reasons. The union understands the city's need to look at all parts of the benefits package for employees due to rising medical costs and the need for recommending adjustments. The union acknowledges the city for continuing to bargain in good faith, as these proposed changes will have an impact on the members' wages, on the membership's wages and working conditions. In closing, people have a choice in where they choose to seek employment. And in researching this topic, we've come to find that many individuals choose to work for the city of Buckley because of niche benefits like the opt-out program that help make up for wages that help make up for wages they may find in larger cities and other municipalities. We understand that as a collective, we must look hard for opportunities to save costs and find opportunities to increase revenue. But most of all, we understand that we're a team of represented and non-represented employees who give their all to serve their community. And as a united team, we cannot accept anyone, represented or not, taking a pay cut to meet the city's bottom line. Sincerely, IUOE Local 302.
Great, thanks, Caleb. Okay, that's everybody that's signed up on here. Would anybody else like to speak for up to 3 minutes? And again, we'll have another opportunity at the end of the council meeting. You can come forward if you'd like, otherwise we'll move on to our committee reports.
Does council have the opportunity to respond to
In
community?
In council member comments, or if you want, yeah. Okay, anybody? Last call? All right. Okay, committee reports. Citizens Advisory Committee, Council Member Anderson. Who we have on Zoom. Okay.
We can meet you.
Okay, let's go ahead, Ron, council member comments and go to the order while we're waiting.
Well, I appreciate the kind gentleman who just spoke, and as I believe all of us are aware that there is ongoing negotiations with the union that the gentleman referenced, and that topic would be part of that negotiating process, which I'm not going to speak to, obviously, because that would be wrong. And I believe what's coming up on us is, and I appreciate the gentleman stating his position. But I believe that what we have coming up has nothing to do with their union negotiations. And that is ongoing and we cannot speak to that, and that is between the city and their bargaining unit.
Anybody else comment, council member comments? Amanda?
I just had some clarifying questions in regards to the email that we got about food bank. And so my questions. So one of the things that I was looking at was what it said in MRSC about gift of public funds. And so MRSC had said that government entities can use public funds to carry out a quote fundamental purpose of the government. And one of the things that it said was a fundamental purpose included protecting public health, safety, and welfare. So in my mind, wouldn't the food bank be the welfare of our community is my question. That's the first one. And then in the WAC on Article 8, Section 7, where it talks about prohibiting local government from giving gifts or lending money, property, or credit to private properties. One of the things that is an exception is necessary support for the poor. So then my wondering is, doesn't the food bank apply to that? That's what I'm wondering. Because then with the leasehold excise tax, if those things apply to the food bank for gift of public funds, then the leasehold excise tax wouldn't apply, because if it's supporting the welfare of the community and it's also necessary for support of the poor, we can't have them lease the property and then charge them an excise tax, is the way I'm reading it. But I just wanted clarification about that.
Okay.
Either now or later, but just those are things that I looked at when I was looking at in the draft of the email, when I clicked on those things and started like researching a little bit more. Because I'm just wondering what the auditors, like eventually when we get into discussion, what was the auditor's findings in regards to management of excise taxes for facility use. That was just questions. I know we're not making a it's not on the agenda, but those were my questions. And I just wanted everybody to hear my questions of the things that I looked at.
Did you want to speak to that or wait?
I can, but if
Oh.
Councilmember Smith has additional questions.
Yeah, Ron.
Yeah, I just want to say that as far as I understand, that the Buckley Food Bank has been in existence for 50 years, and they're currently occupying a space at Buckley Hall. They have no revenue stream. They sometimes get grants. And I know that there's people who donate monthly, so they can buy food, and there's donations and whatnot, but they don't have a revenue stream. And I agree with the comments of Councilmember Burbank. We're helping our community and they're not making any profit or money. I mean, it's not like they're making money. And I also know that the Donald Loomis clothing bank has been part of the White River School District building at Wickersham, and it may have been I believe it was at the old DDC before. I'm not sure. And I'm unsure again, people that are in need that we're helping. There's no revenue stream. They're getting donations. I know for a fact that my family has dropped off, I don't know how many bags of stuff to the clothing bank so they can be put back into. And so I don't understand. And I would like to see the auditors, where the auditors said we're wrong. And I would like to get a legal opinion from the city attorney on this.
Okay. All right. Did you want to speak to that and or the previous? Oh, Denise, sorry.
So what I was reading out of the codes was the city is able to help the poor and infirmed. And so it seems like the food bank should be able to get an exception. It talked about them getting an exception on paying things. And so perhaps all we need is the food bank to get some sort of exception from the state. I would really like to see this brought to another study session so that, we can get more information and make a decision based on more information. Like like Councilmember Burbank said, we're not doing anything with it tonight as far as a
Yeah,
decision.
question.
But it is something that we need to discuss more before we make any changes. So I'd like to see it at a study session.
That sounds
Okay.
good.
All right. Kenny, you have anything?
I'm with it.
Oh, would you see if Mackenzie's got anything for Mackenzie, do you have anything for council member comments to go to the order? Sorry for the delay, folks. No, okay. City administrator, did you want to speak to anything? We kind of shifted.
Certainly table this for a conversation. I would just like to say that what we're discussing was an email that was sent last week that was prompted originally by an earlier discussion regarding the condition of the flooring at Buckley Hall. And that the selection for the flooring material was not to accommodate the existing uses, and that we don't currently have any form of an agreement with the Buckley Food Bank, at least for our records. That said, the council is certainly within it's within the purview, similar to the museum, where we can choose to subsidize that program. We just have no formal agreement that's existed that recognizes the relationship between the city and the food bank, which would help us in framing a legislative agenda that says that this is the location and the home of the Buckley Food Bank. No such agreement exists as of right now. And so as part of that, the other items in those emails were other things to consider. Certainly not a recommendation, just items to consider. Specifically regarding the auditors, one of our prior audits found that we were not appropriately charging leasehold excise tax for any of our, or for many of our existing leases. And so over the last couple of years, the properties out at Rainier State School, for example, had to be revised in order to properly collect that tax. So that was something that we included in that list as something that we would need to consider. And then the city attorney absolutely would assist in the crafting of any future agreement with the Buckley Food Bank moving forward.
Okay, is that wrong?
So city administrator, you're saying that there could be an exemption based on the use?
Yes, we could go into an ILA or an MOU that basically says the city of Buckley agrees to fund the utilities, the improvements, et cetera, to support the Buckley Food Bank. We could, that's one option. Or there are other options, because the partnership would be with a nonprofit agency, not with providing direct service as a city, if that makes sense. So we would be partnering with a 501c3 nonprofit as we do today. It's just not formalized, not providing the service ourselves.
So us not manning the food bank.
Correct.
Okay.
Or hiring staff or volunteers to do it.
Okay, anything else on food bank? Okay. Did you want to touch on, I know we've got a lot of folks here. Did you want to touch on Ron's comment about what we've got slated on the schedule tonight? Regarding the 302 stuff or the opt-out program?
If council has any questions, when it comes forward as an action item, I'm happy to respond to those questions.
Okay, all right. Denise?
Can I ask a question now?
Sure.
Okay, on this, if the amendment passes, it's my understanding that these people are grandfathered in.
We are currently negotiating the mitigation for the impacts of the revised policy. And one of the options that has been presented to the union for consideration is fully grandfathering in for the duration of the contract, all of the individuals listed on this list, as well as the 4 that are not listed, the total of 9 individuals.
Okay.
Three that are not
So
listed.
for the next 3 years. or
Correct.
Until the contract, they wouldn't be losing these funds.
Again, we're still in active negotiations, but
Okay.
that is one of the options that the city has put forward. Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Anything further on that? Okay, anything other than food bank and opt-out program for council member comments and nothing from Mackenzie, correct? And we don't have Brandon on?
No.
Right, okay. Okay, on to the regular agenda.
2025 property tax levy and 2025 EMS.
And Director Hines is here for information. Oh, sorry. It is 6:20 or 6:30. We're going to recess the city council meeting and enter into a public hearing for the 2025 property tax levy. And we will reconvene as soon as we're done with this public hearing.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor and Council. This is the first of our 3 public hearings on the 2025 and 2026 budget, our first biennial budget. This one is required as a revenue hearing and specifically to include information about property taxes. I have a short presentation. Oh, that way? Am I blocking? Can you do it? Okay. I can send this slide deck out afterwards to council if they'd like to have that. But just a few slides. This is our overall general fund revenue slide. Showing just a comparison of our 2024 budget at just over 7.2 million for the general fund and looking at coming in a little over 7 million for year-end estimate. Our revenue then for 25-26 increases up to about 7.7 million for 25 and 7.9 million for 26. One of the largest areas for that is the projection for development revenue with building permits. This revenue assumes a very, very conservative estimate of about 110 building permits a year coming in that we feel is a good safe assumption that there could be more. It does include the 1% property tax optional increase, and we'll talk about that in a second. If you look at the change columns, our sales tax for 24 to 25 is going down and then kind of comes back up in 26. We have seen a flattening of the sales tax and a decrease in that due to just not quite as much construction going on this past year. We know that will pick up with the development going on with the building permits and associated with all the new houses going in. But until we can kind of see those start getting pulled, we're still staying with a conservative estimate on our sales tax to not overestimate that since it's the largest source of revenue in the general fund. Okay. Looking at just the specific taxes in the general fund, which are the largest sources by far, the sales and use tax, 1.6 million is what we had budgeted for 24. We're going to come in and project about 1.57 in 25 and then back up to 1.6. So we're taking a little dip for 25, but then back up to 26. We're not going to meet the 1.6 necessarily for the 24 budget. So we based our 25 estimate as growth on top of the 24 year-end estimate. The year-end estimate for 24 is about 1.5. So we're coming in under budget for 24. So there is an increase to 25. It's just an increase to the 24 year-end estimate, not the 24 budget. Our current rate is 8.2%. That extra 0.1% that we went up recently was for the Transportation Benefit District for transportation funding. We receive basically about 85 cents for every dollar. This county takes 15 cents for administrative. So for every dollar of sales tax earned, we get about 85 cents of that. Property tax is our second largest revenue, and we'll talk about that in a little more detail. And then combined utility taxes, we have both external electric, natural gas, garbage, cable TV, and telephone, all communications. And then our internal utility taxes of water, sewer, and stormwater. And you can see the estimates there for those. And then we just have some additional taxes for excise and gambling taxes that we pull in for pull tabs and bingos and raffles in town. So moving on to the regular property tax, we've talked about this, every year as we do in budget because it's such a fun topic that everybody loves. Washington does our property tax a little different than most all the other states. We do not set a property tax rate. We set a levy amount that we need to have in the budget, which is limited by a 1% growth plus some new construction. And the county assessor does the assessment of all the parcels. And based on the math of our levy that we set and the assessed value, that determines the property rate that everyone is charged on their parcels.
Can you go into a little bit more detail, Sandy, about how that population growth may impact that for individual households?
Yes. Because the rate that everyone pays on their property tax is determined just by a factor of math. When the assessed value goes up or down, it will impact how much that rate is. Determining our levy always stays the same and only tends to grow. It either has to stay the same, or if the council chooses to take the 1%, it will grow by that plus whatever the new construction valuation is. And then the assessed value can change up or down. As it goes up, the rate actually goes down per thousand of assessed valuation. So someone who has one person can see an increase in their property taxes and someone else could actually see a decrease in their property taxes. It all depends on how the ratio of their personal property value goes up compared to their neighbors. And as we have more properties coming into the city and we have the same amount of pie to divvy up for the levy, then it will actually spread that pie a little more. And so people could actually see a decrease in their property taxes again, even though we're raising the amount of the revenue, just because it lowers the rate that you're paying per thousand of your assessed valuation. And it also depends on how every other taxing district in the city homeowners pay. So we also pay state taxes for education funds. You have a port tax, you have a library district tax, you have a county, not county street tax, sorry. You have a White River School District tax. So you have many taxing jurisdictions that depending on if they raise theirs, even if the city doesn't raise ours, you could see an increase in your property tax, but it has nothing to do with the city gaining any additional revenue. So in this case for 25, the chart up on top, our levy basis to start with is always the previous year's actual levy less any refunds that are come off of state property. So we're starting at about 1.3 million. The 1% optional brings us up to, so from 1.32 million to 1.33 million. Our new construction levy for this year is only 22,000. So that's added on top of the 1%. And that's just given by the state assessor. It's all the construction for anything that's come onto the property rolls over the last year. So that gives us a regular property tax limit of 1,357,000. They add on some refunds. It's always a varied amount every year. Some years we can have some we don't. This year we have about $3,100. So that brings our total allowable levy up to 1,360,000. And so our assessed value this year is at about 1.18 billion. And with that, then that determines the rate, which I don't have on here, but if we look at our legal limit, we're allowed up to $3.10. When you look at that, there's a state maximum of $3.60, taking off the library district of 50 cents. And so we're allowed $3.10 max. At $3.10, our levy would actually be 3.6 million. So that's what that 3.6 million is if we were able to, which you're not unless you did a levy lid lift, assess the full tax amount, it would be at 3.6 million. We are at 1,360,000. So, and I'm sorry, I didn't put the rate on there. It's lower. It's down at about $1.15 or so again, like it was in 24. So this is what we have planned into the preliminary budget that will be coming forward is just the 1% optional the council is allowed to take if they so choose. The new construction and the refunds are added by the assessor. We don't necessarily have a choice. They just put those on to our rolls. So that is where our property tax will land for next year. And that's not much of an increase. Right now for 24 budget, our property tax was at 1,325,000. So it's just going up to 1,360,000 for next year. And again, we set the levy amount and the assessor sets the value. Next one. Okay. EMS property tax levy. So very similar in this case, our max allowed rate is 50 cents per thousand on an EMS levy. All cities and districts EMS levies are maxed out at 50 cents. With the passage of the EMS levy lid lift that just passed in August, it is resetting our rate to 50 cents. We were down at about 32 cents in 24. And so the levy lid lift allows us to reset our rate up to the 50 cents. And then that allows us to then be able to take the full allowable levy, as you can see, 590,000. So it's almost, I think it was almost 250,000 more than where we're at in 24. So that's, and then going forward in 26, when we do the mid-biennial update, council will, we have to do property taxes every year, even though we're doing a biennial budget, because the assessor only does them once a year on annual basis. So we will revisit property tax again in the mid-biennial update next fall for 26. And the council, based on how the ballot was worded, has the option to increase the EMS property tax levy up to 6%, with it going no more than the 50 cents allowable. So if it had dropped down to 45 cents, based on whatever the new assessed valuation would be next year, the council could choose to increase it back up to that 50 cents to maintain that if they so choose, with the maximum increase of no more than 6%. So we are going to be at 50 cents next year and collecting the 590,000 in our EMS levy. That has allowed us to be able to shift costs from the general fund to EMS to better reflect how staff spend their time. We've been running with about a 60-40 split, 60 in general fund and 40 in EMS. But the actual work and call volume, as Chief Scogan has mentioned, is pretty much almost the opposite. So much more of a 25 general fund fire and 75 EMS. And so this levy lid lift has allowed us to switch those costs to more accurately reflect where the work is being done and to fund the additional firefighters. Okay. Next steps. We're diligently working to balance the budget and get it done and the document done and out to you on the 31st of next week. After that, we have a regular study session on November 5th. That will be your first opportunity to discuss the whole budget with your budget document. On November 12th, it's a regular council meeting. It will be the second public hearing, which covers the preliminary budget, and we'll continue discussion on the preliminary budget. If council so chooses and needs more time for discussion, we'll have a special study session on November 19th. And then on November 26th, at the regular council meeting, we'll bring forward ordinances for both the regular property tax levy, the EMS tax levy. We have a special levy that covers the bond on the fire station. So that ordinance for all three of those levies will come forward, as well as we'll have the final public hearing on the budget and have an ordinance ready for council if they so choose to adopt on the 26th. If the budget is not adopted on the 26th, we can bring another ordinance forward on December 10th. For adoption. It does have to be adopted by December 31st. And so we usually, with council's choice, usually to cancel the second meeting in December. If they choose to do that, then the 10th would be our last opportunity, but we can go up to December 31st to adopt the budget. Happy to answer any questions that you may have.
You want to ask in terms of this? Well, if anybody else, what's that? Yeah. Okay, anybody, any council members, questions, public?
Okay.
Yeah, thank you, Sandy. All right, does anybody in the public would like to comment on the wonderful budget? Carolyn.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Carolyn Harding here on behalf of the Buckley Chamber of Commerce. As the council looks for revenue sources for the upcoming biennial budget, the chamber would like to encourage the council to look at sources that impact businesses and property owners less, while still providing the necessary services important to the community. Specifically, I would note two items. One is the council did receive a revenue options list a few months ago with one item of note, which is surplusing properties that the city no longer uses or needs. To me, that is an option that should be considered prior to raising property owners and businesses' property taxes. Also, I would note that we're aware that there aren't a lot of projects coming in right now to the city. Projects are being kind of held back by those of us that are developers and property owners themselves on projects because they're waiting for the comp plan to be approved. So something you could do to help with your revenue for the city is to get your code updated as soon as that comp plan is enacted so that everything matches up. Because right now we're going to wait and see what the comp plan does. Once you sign that comp plan, we still can't use that until the new code is created. So there are projects that may be sitting out there that could really benefit the city for revenue needs that we've all discussed. that would be helpful if that code got done as quickly as possible. I do know that the city, that the chamber would support additional revenue be spent or encouraged in the planning department's budget to allow for the ability for people to be hired or contracted with to make sure that that code gets done as quickly as possible. I think that benefits everyone. Thank you.
Yep, thanks, Carolyn. You want that on there? Josh, I see you're itching.
Josh Hosford, I live at 28812 Hinkleman Road. I own Osford Construction. So I made some notes. I appreciate Sandy's explanation of how property taxes work. I think I think it's on the website, but I'd really like for that to be brought to the public's attention because the explanation that she gave, the explanation that she gave, I think was a good way to explain to the average person of how it works. It's even complex as someone like me who's in the business. I just made some notes. I mean, regarding managed growth, what it sounds like based on what Sandy reported is that it's additional growth in the city spreads property taxes amongst the residents. So if you add 100 new construction homes into the community each year, it potentially could spread the requirements of the budget for the city amongst the residents. So that's important. It also provides sales tax construction revenue, which I know for years, the last few years, the city has really relied on that. And I would reiterate what Carolyn had to say about the comp plan and the code. I have projects on hold, but I know a lot of others, including just single homeowners who may benefit from an additional density of one more unit, and they're waiting to see what happens. They also are unable to sell their properties to someone who wants to develop because that buyer is waiting, as well as they need to disclose what the new code will be. And so there's a lot of risk related. So everyone's kind of waiting until the code gets adopted. The other thing that it does, which the city has definitely benefited from, is providing customers for local businesses. I mean, the average income it takes to afford now a $600,000 house in Buckley is probably $150,000. Some of these families have even greater income than that. That means $10,000 to $20,000 annually of disposable income. A lot of these small businesses have really benefited and grown because of that, those new residents. It allows police and fire to hire additional officers. I've sat in committee meetings. I believe that we just hired another full-time firefighter, which allows for a full-time staffing, which Buckley has never had. Part of that has to do with growth. And yes, there is demand on that. But the thing that I'd like to know, and I haven't asked the chiefs directly this, is where do the calls come from? So what would be really helpful for someone in the community is there more calls in the existing base of the community? Is there more calls in certain developments? I guess what I would argue is potentially adding people, which means you need more fire and police. I just don't believe that those newer developments have as much response or as many calls as the existing community. I don't know if that's true, but I just have to believe that based on what I've observed, that's the case. So that might not be an exact loss, meaning you have to hire a firefighter, but maybe they don't have more calls from that neighborhood, at least for a period of time. The last thing I would say is that new development contributes TIF and impact fees that allows you to repair or upgrade existing capital facilities. I mean, I've sat in committee meetings where it seems like there is a significant amount of money that's being dumped into the capital facilities in the city of Buckley. I know part of that is from new development fees that come in. And I believe that there's been a lot of upgrades, and it seems like they're able to upgrade stuff all the time. So that's been, I think, a benefit as well. Thank you.
Thanks, Josh. I'll bite my tongue on the new development piece. Anybody else for public comment on the public hearing? Anybody? Okay. All right, it is, do we have anybody online?
No, I do have one at the end for the last public comment.
Okay. All right, it is 6:50. We'll close the public hearing and re-enter the city council meeting at 6:50 p.m.
Right.
And
Resolution.
new business, go ahead.
Resolution number 2408, amending section 6.21 health insurance opt-out program of the city personnel policy and administrative procedures manual.
Move
Okay.
to approve resolution number 24-08, amending section 6.21 health insurance opt-out program of the city of Buckley personnel policy and administrative procedure manual.
Second.
Okay. All right, city administrator is here to answer any questions. Does anybody have, we'll leave Mackenzie's vote on it. Is this a roll call vote? No, okay. All right, Kenny.
Have we negotiated like minimizing the impacts for the employees?
Yes, we have in active negotiations with the union. We have provided a couple of options and alternatives. One is an increased COLA to mitigate the impact, and the other is what we discussed a little while ago, which is the grandfathering in through the current contract cycle for the individuals that are currently enrolled in the opt-out. We have not done any type of mitigation for the non-rep employees for the non-rep employees who currently receive the opt-out, of which there are 4, 2 of which are new hires. And we're told, because this has been in the works for over a year now, we're told when they hired in that the policy would be amended. And then the other 2 are aware and have been involved in the creation and outroll of the policy provisions.
Okay. Amanda?
On the part where it says that the city will review the program on an annual basis during the budget process and may
Yes.
cancel the program effective, what it says there. When it says the city, is that just staff or does that come to council?
This has come to
Because this is my second term and I don't remember ever discussing this during a budget process.
That's a great point. So we believe that this was adopted originally in 2013. We struck the date that was referenced in it. Sorry.
Do you? You ever discussed it?
17.
No,
Oh.
and so I am not aware that this has been discussed in the past, aside from when council has met in the last 2 years to review the policy. When it was originally adopted, looking back at rates, we estimate that it was about $150 per month for the full family. And so over time it's grown. The city of Buckley, according to former city administrator Dave Schmidt, who I spoke with regarding this policy, said that the city of Buckley was one of the first cities to adopt an opt-out policy. Since that time, many in Pierce County have adopted similar policies, and I have a comparison here. I reached out over a year ago to cities in Pierce County and received a response from some, certainly not all, with their current opt-out rate. There is a significant benefit to the city to offer an opt-out policy in order to incentivize employees to choose to opt out, which in turn saves medical costs throughout the organization. Our structure is unique. Most set a flat amount, which is what we've proposed to move to. If you take a look at this chart, ours remains from the ones that we receive comparables to. So I didn't get a chance to review all because not everyone sent me one. But I would say that of the ones that we're aware of, we offer the most generous by nearly double with what is being proposed tonight of any city in Pierce County.
But is that also compared to like their wages? You know what I mean? Like what they make, right? So I don't know I don't know what the wages are like in Ording or Bonnie
Yep.
Lake, right? But comparing wages.
That's a great question.
Okay.
So I would say, no, it is not the same compared to their wages.
Okay.
And again, without going too far into the details of ongoing negotiations, that is another thing that we have identified as a market rate adjustment for some positions in response to the market of our local comparables as well as similar sized cities comparables throughout the state.
Okay. So moving forward, who is in charge of bringing this up during the budget process to review? I don't know whose
job is that?
Yeah.
Probably mine. And
Okay.
or it says that it would be reviewed. The current administrative policy says that it can, I think the way that it was originally interpreted was that it could be considered to be removed at any time. Basically, they did we can remove this. This is now past practice precedent. It's been in existence for over 10 years.
Okay.
And to my knowledge has not been touched during that time. So with that, we now have to mitigate and negotiate any impact, even though it does appear in the policy that you could potentially do away with it on any given year. I don't think that we could be that blunt with a decision to just do away with it entirely.
Okay.
We would certainly have to negotiate the impact with our bargaining units.
Okay. All right.
Ron?
I just want to say that I respect the collective bargaining process, and this tonight does not affect that. That is a whole different process for that negotiation. City administrator noted that there's 4 non-rep people, 2 have been hired recently, and 2 have been here for a long time. This is only non-rep people who are not represented in a current collective bargaining situation. So here we are. And this has nothing to do with an ongoing negotiation with a bargaining unit or any other bargaining unit within the city. This is non-represented people. Am I correct?
Not entirely, but so we do have to mitigate the impacts and negotiate the impacts with the bargaining units. But the only place that the opt-out policy is referenced today is in the admin policies. And so by de facto, the bargaining units also are benefit from this same admin policy. So any new hire, if this is approved today, any new hire or individuals that are currently employed by the city of Buckley that are not currently enrolled in the opt-out that we are in active negotiations with to mitigate the impacts for, they would be under the revised policy. There is no policy in the 302 bargaining contract or in the police contract specific to the opt-out. It is the admin policy that governs both of those as well.
The city.
Yeah, the employee handbook.
So my additional question on that is, how could this action tonight adversely or positively affect ongoing negotiations with 302 or any other bargaining unit within the city?
I would expect negotiations to include options to grandfather employees in or adjust the rates of the opt-out specific to those employees, or the need for additional compensation for the employees that are affected, or the anticipated, I call it the lost opportunity cost. That's an economics term that refers to if we had the revised policy in place versus the existing policy, how much would the city save in that delta? And then how could we see an increase in COLA across the organization if that was in place? So again, that's looking more long-term as we hire new individuals or people choose to opt into our benefits and then later would choose to opt out. Because again, this is only for individuals that opt out of benefits, not for those who do use the city's benefit package.
Okay. Did you see if Mackenzie's got any questions?
Nothing yet.
Okay. All right. Any other questions, comments, anything you want to add? City administrator? Okay. All right. Guess we'll vote. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? And where's Mackenzie at?
Yep.
All right. Okay, we're on to the next resolution.
Authorizing an amendment to an interlocal agreement for the emergency management services provided by the city of Puyallup.
Move to approve resolution number 24-09, authorizing an amendment to an interlocal agreement for emergency management services provided by the city of Puyallup.
Second.
Okay, city administrators here for questions, comments. Anybody? Oh, Eric. It has city administrator down here. Eric's here to speak to this.
Basically, this amendment just cleans up some of the language and allows the town of South Prairie to join the same interlocal coalition that we are a part of.
Okay. Anybody, questions, comments for Eric? In South Prairie? Okay, thanks,
Thank you.
Eric. All right, this is not a roll call vote. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you, council. Okay. All right, staff reports. Eric's back up to the podium. Third quarter fire department update from Chief Scogan.
We have new business,
We got new business.
new business.
Oh, it's not on my sheet.
Right, so.
Sorry, Eric. Okay. We got both the resolutions. Okay, sorry, new business. Interlocal cooperation agreement with multi-jurisdictional SWAT team.
Move to approve the interlocal cooperation agreement for multi-jurisdictional SWAT team in Pierce County.
Second.
Chief.
Questions? Any questions? Yeah, go ahead.
I love to see this. This is outstanding. But wasn't it a change in the insurance carrier's position that we could do this?
Yes, so for the past 3 years, we've had a local agreement with Pierce County Sheriff's Department for their SWAT team. Their SWAT team charges $16,000, almost $17,000 per call out. So as you can imagine, if we get a SWAT call here in the city of Buckley, that's going to be a pretty hefty thing that we don't budget for. And this was due to the fact that, yes, the insurance carrier had some, they didn't like the language as far as liability went with the Metro City SWAT team. And so their position was to not allow us to be on that SWAT team. They now have changed their position. So this is allowing us to become a member of the Metro City SWAT team, which includes Puyallup, Lakewood, or not Lakewood, excuse me, Puyallup, Bonnie Lake, and all the other surrounding jurisdictions here. Being a member of the Metro City SWAT team, we can actually put police officers onto this team. So there is a cost associated with it, but it's a much lower cost than, and then if there is a call out, the Metro City SWAT team would respond not for $16,000. They're responding as a cooperative with us. So it's
a member
like
on.
Yeah.
Or members.
And the next agreement that was coming up is for Pierce County. And it's basically going to be a backup agreement for them. And so because we're signing, it's essentially what we're signing is, yeah, we will pay the $17,000 for Pierce County SWAT if they show up, but that's not going to happen because if we're Metro City, it'd be a mutual aid. And so county would obviously come as a backup team to the SWAT team.
So on the unlikely occurrence that we had two situations going at the same time, we might
two
have to
situations
pay.
going at the same time, or one prolonged situation where the SWAT team is basically tapped out. All their resources are done, and so they need to bring in another SWAT team. They would likely bring in Pierce County.
Okay. As we just found, well, they didn't call SWAT to Fall City, but they just had a big situation there. SWAT wasn't involved, but even in a tiny little smaller community than ours, it can happen. So.
Right.
Okay, thanks. Any questions, comments for Chief? Okay. Thanks, Kurt.
Yeah, and I'll stay up here because the next one.
Yep, next one. All right. Roll call.
Special services agreement with the Pierce County Sheriff.
No, okay, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Kenzie when she comes through. Okay, next round.
Special services agreement with the Pierce County Sheriff Department.
Move to approve the interlocal cooperation agreement with multi-jurisdiction. Oh, wait, sorry, wrong one. I already read that. Move to approve the special services agreement between Pierce County Sheriff's Department and City of Buckley.
Second.
So the reason to sign this one with Pierce County, like I said, is it does have checked on their SWAT services, but there's other services that the county provides that are regional assets that they do not charge for that we could utilize, such as Marine Services, their dive team, their bomb team, and those assets that we could utilize, especially now with the new bridge being open and Walkers, we could probably benefit from signing this agreement and being able to call if there's some type of swift water rescue or something where they need a dive team to go into the water. So
Okay.
that's the reason for signing this one.
Are there different rates for that versus the SWAT team?
There are no, those teams
okay.
are provided at no cost to the city.
Okay. All right, any further questions, comments for Chief? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you, council.
Thank you, council.
Yeah, thanks, Chief. Now we're on to the third quarter fire department update. Sorry, Eric.
Sorry.
No, it's all right. I've got two agendas up here.
So for starters, this was the first report that I prepared under our new reporting system to share our demographics in detail. And during the last public comment, Josh brought up an excellent point. If council would like to see where some of the call volume is, we can definitely do that. Obviously, we can't share addresses, but streets we absolutely can. So
Break the city into regions.
Made some notes of that, and that's something that I'll include in future reports.
Do you know, Eric, does Pawnee Lake do that?
I've never seen any of our neighboring departments do that, but it's one of the filters that we can easily set
Okay,
in our system.
okay. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, not a problem. So we just highlighted demographics, call volume, also celebrated some of the accomplishments, including the hiring of 2 additional firefighters that came on board officially on July 1st. I can say our call volume is running steady. We haven't seen a significant increase, but we tend to be roughly 10% above where we were last year. And that seems to be an annual trend that we've seen in the last 4 years. Outside of that, I will just give a quick verbal update on our progress with Olympic Ambulance. That wasn't included in here. Is just today I received a draft agreement from them. Captain Rigsby and I and some of our other command staff will be making some suggested edits to that and bringing forth something probably in the next month or less. But we are on track to begin that agreement January 1st of 25.
Okay.
So
And where are we at on the new bus? It's got to be getting close.
it is. I unfortunately don't have pictures yet, but it was painted a week ago.
Okay. All right.
So final acceptance is tentatively scheduled for December 12th.
Any questions, comments for Eric on the update, third quarter? Okay, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
And city administrator update.
Included in your packet is a revised legislative priorities. I did also just include for reference that 2025 legislative agenda provided to us by AWC. Most of this is Buckley specific, including priority number 2, requesting that the state legislature fully fund one of the grants that we were on track to be awarded is something that the state has to budget annually. And so we are asking that they fully budget that program this next year in order for us to receive the parking or the funding that we're hoping to have for the Miller Park project. In addition, we would like to request that the legislature consider an additional direct appropriation of $450,000 This is a pie in the sky ask. We will put a white paper together and lobby and see if we are fortunate. We will have a new representative this year. And so we'll be working with them post-election, and they typically start receiving proposals soon after the election date. So we'll make sure to meet with them and request that, as well as funding for Buckley Hall, which is not included on this list, but will be added, waiting to see the outcome of the LTAC, because we did put in a request for LTAC this year for the funding for the flooring replacements, additional replacements or improvements that need to be made to that building. Is just wear and tear maintenance on the bathrooms. They were not included in part of that original maintenance project that was done a couple of years ago, as well as the front entryway is deteriorated and needs to be replaced. So once we have a formal agreement with the food bank, that will definitely help us in terms of selling that project to the state legislature for funding. So it houses the museum, it's a community center, it houses the food bank, and we're hoping that we can receive a direct appropriation for that as well. For local revenue, I have a revised marijuana excise tax disbursement. So cities with retail locations collect tax based off of actual gross sales within the city rather than population. That was the way that the law was originally put into place. It was since adjusted. We are in a minority on this. I think that the majority of cities that are larger, I mean, every city that's larger than us is benefiting because they're basing it off of population rather than sales. So we're going out on our own on this one, but I think it's worth putting it out there. And then changing some of the language. Right now, there is a program that funds youth recreation. So our youth center would be eligible, but it does not support youth recreation that is subsidized or operates out of a city facility. And it seems like a very strange way to regulate, especially when similar rules exist for senior centers and we are eligible for funding. And so we are asking that they consider revising that code. And this is in partnership with several other jurisdictions to have that, allow cities to apply for funding if we do offer that service rather than a separate private nonprofit. So right now, those that would benefit are primarily like the Boys and Girls Clubs or the YMCAs or those types of organizations that operate separately from a city. And we will be advocating to say cities are also providing this service and should have eligible to these same funding opportunities. So this is just another opportunity for you to review the legislative priorities. If there's anything else that you would like to add, anything that you'd like to adjust. Once adopted, probably in the middle of November or early December, again, we will forward this on to our representatives. Last year, we were very successful with our legislative priorities. We won't get that lucky every year, but it's worth putting our time and effort into and trying.
Okay. Thank you. Any questions, comments for that legislative agenda? Amanda?
Did we have a goal set in mind of how many priorities or no?
No, we could
Okay.
expand the priorities list.
I'm still pushing for the number 17,
What's number 7?
the firefighter safety.
Okay, we could absolutely
With all
include
the
that.
increase of electric vehicles and
Yep.
people using them.
Yep. Okay.
I don't know
Absolutely add that.
whether we
Yes.
use them or not.
The way that
for
this
reality.
works in real life is certain items I will lobby individually. So I will collect, for example, for SR 410 improvements. I reached out to all of our neighboring communities and local chamber partnered with us to write letters of support. And then I individually sent them to our state representatives, senators, those individuals that were going to have a vote at the table in order to try to get that to pass, and it did. So the more that we have, the more that some of it will be very targeted, and others, if it's not included on the city's legislative agenda, I am not going to sign it on a group effort that when AWC puts out something, collecting letters of support. So the last meeting, we talked about the increase for property tax. If that's not on our legislative agenda, I'm not putting the support for it on behalf of the city of Buckley. So if there are other things included on this that you would like added, it's simply just me when the time is right, either showing up at those meetings and speaking or counting as a person who signs a letter of support for those different initiatives. And then if it's something that's Buckley specific, like Miller Park and Buckley Hall that'll involve me putting together a white paper and sending those out for direct asks and trying to collect letters of support from our partners in order to hopefully get those projects funded and get support.
Okay.
Or we could hire a lobbyist.
One day. A lot of cities do. No, we don't. So I do.
Okay, with that, we are back to public comment.
You have one from, Bill.
Okay.
It's Emerson from Buckley, 577 BSA. Would like to know what city of Buckley is doing to prevent the rise in crime and how young people can help support this.
Hiring police officers. That's the short answer. But they're more than welcome to come and we can discuss. And you got the name and,
Yes.
okay, perfect. Okay. Thank you for your public comment. Would you two like to arm wrestle for who would like to go first? Okay, okay, thanks, Donna.
First off, I'd like to thank the council for their support of the food bank. As you know, we're 100% volunteer. Nobody gets paid. Any money we get goes right back into buying food. Our mission statement is primarily to help alleviate hunger for the poor, for those experiencing food insecurities in the White River School District. Since January through September of this year, we have served 4,472 families. And that added up to 221,968 pounds of food we've given out. And then I wanted to address that I received the email that Courtney had sent out to the council and I was concerned regarding the city being out of compliance and with the gift of public funds and the leasehold excise tax. As I understood reading these articles, that it's a guideline and not a law, so that it would be up to you guys. And I ask you to please do more research on it before taking any action. There's a section that does mention, and you talked about the poor being an exemption for this. Also in the email, it was quoted as the flooring at Buckley Hall was not replaced with the food bank in mind. And I do not see how that could have happened since we've been in there 35 years. How could we not? Anyway, right now I have 52 volunteers. And in a 4-week period of time, that's like 609 volunteer hours. So we've got a good staff. We have great people that come to use us, and I would like you to continue to support us, please.
Absolutely. I can speak to the flooring, just what little bit I know about it. The previous, I know this is a broken record. The previous administration, there was a dream to move the food bank at that time.
Right.
And I think that's why the flooring, or maybe the flooring was chosen poorly, as we know now it was, but
yeah,
that's why that wasn't taken into account.
That's true.
Okay,
thank
all right,
you.
thanks, Donna. Mel. And thank you, Donna, for everything you do. Truly, it's a lot of juggling, a lot of personnel for free.
Yeah, you don't know how many hours she spends. Anyway, I'm Mel Garland, 101 South Sergeant Street. And I'm here in 2 capacities tonight. One is as the chair of the Planning Commission. I wasn't going to speak anything about the Planning Commission, but with Carolyn and Josh commenting on the code, I wanted to make sure that you understood that that's the plan or the zoning code that we're talking about. And we did discuss it last night at our meeting. We had a brief meeting to advance the comp plan to you guys. And we are committed to getting that done as soon as possible. We do need public input, so it will take some time. We want to have an open house and we'll need a hearing so that everyone understands. I missed the meeting that everybody showed up at, but there was a lot of questions about the new zones that we've created. And a lot of it is to correct some of the poor zoning decisions of the past, and hopefully move those properties in a direction that will be beneficial to the city instead of a detriment. And that was the main drive for that. Secondly, I'm here as a volunteer for the food bank. I'm one of those 52 people, and I happen to keep the books. I want to let you guys know that really every dollar does go to the food, for the food, or to the delivery of the, not the delivery, but the providing of the food. And the last 4 months in a row, there's been deficit spending. So we don't have a lot of money available to be doing a lot of different things. So
Perfect.
anyway.
Thank you, Mel.
Yep.
Thank you for your service too on both accounts. Would you like to speak? Please. Just state your name and not your address, but city of residence or county.
Sure. Hello, everybody. I'm Tony Frasconi, and I live in the great city of Sumner. And I just got to say, I love Buckley. I've worked with this great group of individuals called Local 302 that represent the city and work for the city. My job is I oversee one of 9 districts in Local 302. We're a large union, about 15,000 members between Idaho, Alaska, and Washington. And it's an honor to be here. I want to just make a couple comments. One is I want the city council and the mayor to know, we started negotiating back in May, I think, right? And so, it's been a long road, and we're here. I know the city wants to pass, budgets and move on into the next biennium. And we've been working hard. One of the things we've been working on is the diverse groups that we represent. So we have administrative staff, we have our utilities, we have, water operators, and all the above. And so when you're trying to find a fair contract and reach a fair deal on behalf of such a diverse group, it takes a lot of work. And I commend the city for working with us and continuing to meet in good faith. The roll call vote that you guys did earlier, I just want to say I respect the democratic process and appreciate the vote you guys took, and after hearing all the information. But I do want to say that, it does impact the bargaining because you can't have one without the other. You have in our contract, we do a 90-10 cost share, for example. As medical costs go up, we share 10% of that cost as it goes up as well. In section 14.3 of our contract, the section 6.2 of the city personnel policies is listed in the contract. So now that we've taken this vote, and you chose to forego listening to the letter, which said that the hope was to have a flat rate of the $700 instead of the 2 tiers down to the $400. That will impact our discussions. We're meeting tomorrow in bargaining. And so without going into bargaining and strategy, that will be a factor. And so I just want to say that, these members, they're here tonight, guys like Ricky, guys like Debbie, they've been here their whole career, starting out as, reading meters and now, police clerk. And it's just a lot of pride in the city, and I love working with them. And they've been loyal through the COVID pandemic. If you look back at our recent contracts over time, last 3 or 4 contracts we've done, it's been raises that were lower than COLA. So like 3%, 2%. And so that's why this bargain is where it's at. That's why we're fighting for the next 3 years. And because we don't know what's going to happen. And we understand all the city's trying to do to look at raising revenue and also cutting costs where you can. And we just ask that the costs aren't on the people that, are working hard to keep this place going and offer a great service. And then the last thing I'd like to say is just, it's something we can't ignore is just when we look around and we see the rising costs for different budgets, and the city finds ways to pay those rising costs. Things go up by 15%, we just gotta find a way to pay it. When administrative staff, take on more responsibility, and we have to make a market adjustment for our executives in the city. These members, they sit back and watch and they think, man, I feel like I'm taking on more responsibility. I feel like the city's asking me to do more. I feel like I'm working hard. Where's the market adjustment for us? And so that's that's what these people see. And so I just want to make it clear to the city and the mayor what we see. And of course, there's all kinds of mitigating factors for, right? You need to pay your executives what, market rates to get good people here to work for the city. And we understand that too. So I don't really know where I was going with all that. I just wanted to call and I just wanted to come up, make a few comments, introduce myself. And I really just wanted you guys to know the reason negotiations is going so long is just because we're really working hard and appreciate the partnership with the city, and we're back at the table tomorrow. So thank you for your time.
Yep. Thanks, Tony.
Yep.
Okay. Anybody else like to speak? I don't have anybody listed, but anybody's more than welcome for 3 minutes. Okay. All right. I think. Yes, and of course, you're all welcome to stick around, but we'll be in closed session for who knows how long it'll be. So we need to keep the meeting going. During closed session, we can close it. Okay.
It's not exec
I'll
session.
entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
I don't know.